You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott along, Randy McKay. It is the playoffs season now. We're ready to get going after a wild Sunday, a final Sunday. And, boy, you know what, big dog? A lot of the games, no games started at 3:05. They're all at 3:25. That little added window, a lot of sports books, including Troy Macker right here at BetRivers, told me on my radio show, I gave him a little extra, time to get those tickets in. And, if the NFL is willing to listen to its sports gambling partners at any point, they would do away with those 305s and make them all 325s. And also start some of the later games. I understand you only have 7 teams that reside in either Mountain or West Coast time zones. So you would have to put a Central time zone or an Eastern time zone a little bit later. But we're all crying for a little bit more balance in the schedule. Let's get right to it and start with your favorite pick, first of all. And that is we're going to the Sunday night game with Detroit and the Rams. Matthew Stafford, we know the storyline going back to Detroit. How about kneecaps playing all his guys the whole time? Laporta, it may have backfired on him. But this is a 3.5 right now. But -3 is -124 at BetRivers, Randy.
Yeah, and I recommend a bet here on Detroit. I made this game right around 4.5. So this game seems like it's a little low, and I'm going to get on the Lions bandwagon here. Of course, you got the narrative with Goff versus Stafford. Running game's going to be big here. I think the offensive line for Detroit's going to have more advantage against that defensive line with Aaron Donald and company than the other side going against Hutchinson. The Rams offensive line, struggles sometimes against better defensive lines. So I see advantage here in the running game. And of course, I made this line a little higher. So, the market and the modeling guys love the Rams this year. So that's why this line is low, I believe, or it came out low. So I think we should jump on it here. They liked Atlanta too. How did Atlanta do last week against the Saints? Not so, and all season. fact matter there with Atlanta, and then you see Arthur Smith with his he's out the door. So some of these teams get overbet in the market, and this Rams team has won, but they've lived up to expectation. They've actually done very well, had a very good season, but I believe their season ends here for the reasons I just mentioned. I feel like Detroit can control the ball more on the ground, not expose their bad defense, and the Rams are going to struggle, make Stafford throw the ball when he gets a little pressure. Both quarterbacks, when they get pressure over their history, have trouble with the turnovers. You can't predict turnovers here, but this Detroit team does get turnovers, so that's one factor. Special teams is bigger in the playoffs. I don't see really any edge. The Rams, actually, special teams been really bad. They've given up a couple punt returns. So that could be another factor, small factor for the Detroit side. So I'm going to play Detroit in their first home game in many, many, many years to cover the spread.
All right, Detroit -3, -124 at BetRivers. -3.5 is basically at even money, maybe a little plus money at BetRivers. Get extra value at the tail end of this football season with the BetRivers Squares. You can win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square, brought to you by our friends at BetRivers. All right, your second individual pick when we got a moneyline parlay and then some leans as well in the rest of the schedule. But this is the early game on Sunday, and the conditions are supposed to be tough. We all remember that Monday night game between New England and Buffalo where it was rough sledding, to say the least. I mean, that was an under dream. Well, the total has tumbled down and continues to, but the line remains the same at double digits at 10. Buffalo 10 at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and there's supposed to be winds anywhere from 30 mile an hour, even up to 50 maybe in this game. Of course, check the weather before the game. It can vary quite a bit. This total has dropped from a 41 opener down to 35. But the Pittsburgh Steelers have been running the ball lately this last end of the season here with Harris, Warren out of the backfield. They can control, and they played in bad weather against Baltimore this last week to get into the playoffs. So they're a little bit more used to it, even though Buffalo is at home. They just had a game in comfortable conditions in Miami where they pulled off that win somehow with that punt return was huge. Otherwise, I don't think they win that game, or it's a 3-point game either way. So they pulled that game off. And the big question here is going to be a slobber knocker. Can Buffalo stick to any kind of running game if they do have success with it? We didn't see that last week. They decided to throw the ball a lot, led to a lot of turnovers with Allen. They escaped the game with a bad turnover differential. Can they do this against a Steeler team that I don't think will turn the ball over? Rudolph's proved that he'll check it down. He's been smart since he's been in there. And of course, Baltimore did drop a few, but it was in them wet conditions. But I like what I've seen out of Rudolph. He's won a game on the road too against a Seattle team that isn't bad. So I give Pittsburgh a very fair shot here, definitely to stay within the 10, maybe even have a shot on the money line. This Buffalo team is dangerous. If they get out of this game, they could cause some trouble in the rest of the playoffs. But this game here is going to be a tight one. Can they do it with different variety of play, unlike they've shown against like Miami and some other games? Can the offensive coordinator Barry stick to the run when he needs to? I don't see that. I think Pittsburgh easily covers this 10, maybe even has a shot on the money line.
Yeah, the midseason switch from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady, and they're running a quarterback a lot more, and they like to pick their spots with him because any running quarterback, it's not for long-term success, but even for a guy as big and strong and as tough as Josh Allen. But man, this Steelers, and anybody could have seen this, to maintain Mike Tomlin's winning streak. Mason Rudolph's going to come in and give him real solid quarterback play at the end of the year. And anybody could have seen that coming. So Steelers, man, it's their culture. That's the best thing. Tomlin, game time decisions, game management, things like that, clock management, impulsive challenge flags at times. Best thing is that Steelers culture. They play hard. They play tough. They're mentally tough. And, man, they just try to figure out a way. Congratulations to him in maintaining that unbelievable streak. All right, let's look at a game that you don't really like the spread, but you do like a moneyline parlay. The Sunday the mid-afternoon game, Dallas is 7.5, 50.5 over Green Bay. And then Saturday night's game, more chilly conditions here. Single digits in Arrowhead. Boy, the NFL doesn't miss a beat, huh? They get all the Taylor Swifts following to subscribe to Peacock. Kansas City, 3.5 and 44 over Miami. You're looking to take the home teams here in a moneyline parlay at BetRivers right now. It's minus 108, Randy.
Yeah, and I'll bring up too, bettors, educated bettors, advanced bettors, they play numbers instead of teams. This is there's a way to play all these playoff games. Unfortunately, some of the numbers have moved. The best way to play these two games is in a money line parlay. The first game you got the Chiefs there, you got Miami coming in, they're used to playing in comfortable conditions in Miami, a warm weather team. Now they got to play in these conditions in Kansas City. Not a good spot to start with. Tua is from Hawaii, hasn't played much in the cold. He did pretty well a couple times up to Buffalo, kept him in the game, but we've seen kind of regression. Plus this Miami team banged up all over the place. Will Waddle play? Lost another good defensive player, Van Ginkel, I think is his name, the good edge rusher, linebacker type, So you got him out of there. You got Chubb out of there. Howard, will he play? This team's banged up all over the place. looks like a wreck. They had a bad spot. If they would have won that game, they would have had to play Buffalo right away again down there. Maybe they could have beat Buffalo twice in a row, but that would have been a lot better them as a 2 seed. Now them being this 6 seed going to Kansas City, tough spot. This Kansas City team is used to playing in this kind of condition. Mahomes, very good. Sometimes he gets a little shaky with the turnovers too, but he's not playing against Lou Anarumo's defense. He's playing against this banged up Nick Fangio type defense that, Nick will Fangio have a scheme for Mahomes. Can his team prevent any of that stuff? Kansas City's defense been strong all year, so they might turn over Tua here, and Miami might struggle to get that running game. Mostert might be out as well, so it might be just Achane. That's going to be a tough spot. So I definitely see KC winning here. Would rather play it in a money line just in case it's a close game, but they also could win in a blowout.
Yeah. So and look, it's not just this particular team too. I mean, it's historically with Miami where they're located, going in these type of conditions, and that's why we're so important for them to try and get a home playoff game or two. And it's just fun. In the it was late in the game. In that loss at Baltimore, that Chubb went down very, very late. So, this team was showing some signs, but a couple of things away from home and also against quality teams, they have had some real issues. So, Dallas, Kansas City, money line parlay -108. So, but how about Jordan Love's numbers across the board? Slightly better across the board than Aaron Rodgers was with the Packers last year. So, of all the young quarterbacks, who they're going to keep, who they're not going to keep, looks like he's got something to build on. Maybe something to that approach. Let that draft pick sit on the side and just kind of observe a little bit. Another one that you're looking at, and you had some opinions, and one of the great things about BetRivers here, Randy, is that you have the sliding scale, especially in college basketball, where I'll take a 2.5 and I'll, take it to +3 or -2. And it allows you to do it on the whole number and at all games. Not all sites do that. Very few of them actually do that. But here, the same thing with the game that you wanted to. You value the 8.5 with Tampa Bay and Houston plus the points, but you don't really value going all the way to 9. You can move it to 8.5. If you took Houston and Tampa Bay plus 8.5, it's -113 at BetRivers. Is that a consideration?
Yeah, definitely consideration doing that. I didn't know you can move it on a teaser bet, so that's very good.
Well, it's a money line bet basically that you can call it what you want. I mean, both to 8.5. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. Very, very good by the site there to do that.
That's good, Randy. It only took you the whole damn season to figure it out, but that's okay. That's why we're here.
Yeah. No, usually I'm just mostly a straight better, but like I said, sometimes you got to mix it up here in the playoffs to get the best value, maximize your chances. So I would definitely look at doing that with both Houston, up to 8.5 home dog, and Tampa Bay. There's some history here. They've played the season, and we didn't talk about the Chiefs. They did win 21-14 in England. The Browns won 36-22 a few weeks ago, but that was Case Keenum and Mills playing at quarterback. The big difference here was Stroud, a team getting a little bit more healthy here in Houston. And I definitely don't think Cleveland's going to cover here with a big number like that. If you can do it up to that, they might win the game by 3, might push that spread, but we're looking to try to get winners here. And that's one of the ways to do it. And also this Tampa Bay game, they lost early in the season when they were just finding themselves to Philadelphia 25-11. That was in Tampa Bay. These are different teams now. This Philly team's on a downward crash, and that's putting it nicely. Ever since they won that Dallas game, I think they've won one game since and backed their way basically into the playoffs as a wild card now. We've seen them, down 24-0 to the Giants last week. So getting any kind of big points against that, sure, they might pull off the 3-point victory again. But getting that up to plus 8.5 is strong. And also, if you want to pair that with Dallas down to 1.5 is also a nice way to do it. We didn't talk a whole lot about the Dallas game, but their home road split makes me want to take Dallas against improving Jordan Love and young Packer team. And that's another reason why I like Detroit. This Rams team is a young team with only a couple veterans. Same with his Packer team, getting their first taste of the playoffs. Could see some mistakes there. So I would lean doing that with all three teams if you want to do a
that would pay plus 150 at BetRivers if you did that.
Yeah, you could take a shot on that one as well. So there's different ways to bet these playoff games. These are just mentions. And, of course, we got our straight bets there with Detroit and Pittsburgh. So it should be a fun playoff week, and I'll be enjoying it in Hawaii on a beach somewhere.
Oh, there you go, big guy. There you go. Get on that surfboard. Do your thing. Hang 10, Randy McKay. But at BetRivers, Dallas, Kansas City, money line is minus 108. It's listed as a parlay on the BetRivers app. Minus 108. Houston, Tampa Bay, both plus 8.5 is minus 113. You add Dallas in there, it is plus 150. We should have a lot of interesting games for this six-pack of NFL games. For Randy McKay, I'm Jimmy. I will be back here next week. Enjoy Hawaii, my friend. Pretty good. Boy, we are envious, to say the least. We'll be back for the divisional round next week on Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.